Hello, here we are for the expert interview series where we are talking about how to master your message, create your in-demand brand, and of course, be known as an authority in your field. What I've been loving about doing this whole expert interview series is the vast array of really amazing people that I've been able to interview. And, you know, when you have a really clear message, when you have a big vision, when you are very passionate about that, you really can create that message and bring that out in a big way by bringing your brand forth. So I want to introduce you to the amazing Marc Lainhart. He's an internationally renowned spiritual medium and has an incredible story to share with you. He's otherwise known as the intuitive prospector. So he helps people connect with spirit and self and just a whole lot more. So I'm really excited. I know I always say I'm excited, but I am really excited all the time because I just get to connect you with really incredible people. And Marc is one of those people. So Marc, please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you so much for that kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here, and I love talking about this. Like you said, my name is Marc Lainhart. I go by the name of the Intuitive Prospector because I'm all about helping people prospect for their own spiritual gold, and it's different for everybody. And I just love doing the work for, spirit, sitting with other people, doing workshops, teaching, getting up and doing platform demonstrations to show the love, the connection, and the power of the spiritual world, and just helping people get on a path to being inspired, living again, asking the bigger questions, knowing that there is something bigger than ourselves. And I'm just really excited to be here today to talk with you and see what happens and see what kind of messages we might get, or see, hopefully our connection stays connected, because we were having some issues with the energy of spirit. But thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your message, because it's such an important message for people to be able to connect with spirit, connect with self, and even connect with those people. And I know that we were speaking about this earlier, that have left this physical plane as well. And I know that we have a lot of spiritual people watching this and involved in this series as well. So I'm excited to dive into that more with you. But share with me how you really you've brought this message to life, how that's come to be, and why you're so passionate about bringing this out in a bigger way.
You bet. Well, I think one of the acronyms that I live by is LIFE, L-I-F-E, and it's learn it from experience. And a lot of my experiences actually put me here today. So I'm here in Seattle, Washington, and that's where my spiritual practice is. And I didn't actually have a plan to do this. I wasn't thinking I was going to get into spiritual work, to be honest with you. I was retired from the fire department due to injury, and I started going back to school for my master's degree. So I was going for sports medicine and human performance here at the University of Washington in Seattle.
Wow.
And before that, there was a lot of life tragedies, the passing of my brother to murder, the passing of my brother to brain cancer, all within the same week, the passing of my father-in-law to multiple sclerosis, all at the young ages of 21, 35, 47. And so those, what I call spiritual paradigm shifts, kind of opened my mind to, okay, there's something bigger than myself. And then I had my own near-death experience in 2005 in a river accident. So I still didn't think I was going to be an ambassador for spirit doing this work, being a psychic medium or a spiritual medium. It's just never something I ever thought about. And when I was at the university, we actually had a professor that came up from Stanford to work with us on the power of meditation, the mind, mindfulness, setting intention, but it was all focused on the professional athlete, nothing really to do with spirituality, nothing to do with mediumship. And we spent a semester doing all these different modalities of meditation, walking meditation, sitting in silence meditation, muscle tension, release meditations, but again, focused on professional athletes, because my degree is in sports medicine and human performance. And I've always kind of looked back at this because the professor that was supposed to teach the course was actually in a car accident, so she wasn't able to instruct the course. So that's why this professor from Stanford came up on loan to the university to help teach. Didn't know it at the time, but he had a background in spirituality. So some of the modalities that we learned kind of opened that door. And when I went within, the power of meditation kind of unlocked that door that everybody has. I'm nobody special. I've just worked on the years since, 2008 to get a better understanding of, meditation, psychic sciences, spiritualism, mediumship, and what that's all about. So that was kind of the opening of my spiritual development 9 years ago now, because that unfolded in 2008. And then in conjunction with my tragedies of, going through all the different energies and the loss of both my brothers and my father-in-law and my real father to throat cancer, it just got me asking questions. And that's awareness. I like to say that a shakening causes an awakening. And it's for everybody. I'm no different. Everybody has had some sort of, loss, tragedy, some sort of shakening, but that awakening that takes place gets us asking the bigger questions, the hows, the whys, the whos, and that's all part of intuition and awareness. So I've spent the last 8-9 years sitting in development groups, traveling to England. I go to England every year and study at a college called Arthur Findlay College to just get a better understanding of psychic sciences, mediumship, but also presented in a very professional, loving, humble way that helps people. Because when you think of, especially my path, when I thought of the word psychic in America, in the United States, it has some very interesting connotations to it. And I didn't want that because, I don't predict people's futures. I don't tell you the winning lottery numbers. I don't tell you when you're going to die. But the word psychic itself is really of the soul. So the word carries, these belief systems, but the work is actually of the soul. So I do work of the soul. I work with people to help them get on a path of being inspired, living again, asking bigger questions. And that work tends to be psychic, mediumship, spiritualism, actual healing. And it took me a long time to get to this point because I didn't want to do it, but Spirit just kept, nudging me and nudging me. And for those that are on a spiritual path, you may have a point in your life. I spent probably 2 years of self-analyzing. Like, have I gone crazy? I'm hearing voices. I don't understand what I'm seeing or not seeing. I'm only feeling. And, it just got to the point where I was like, well, if I was crazy, I wouldn't be having this conversation with myself and diagnosing myself to be crazy. So I knew that there was something more to that. And so I just set out on a journey of prospecting. And that's where the actual name, the Intuitive Prospector, came up from. I didn't come up with that. That came from spiritual inspiration. Wow. Because the term prospecting, if you look at it, you've got to put in the work, just as a prospector would. If you got to put on the right equipment, you got to know your weather conditions. You go up into the hillside and you start digging. It's hard work. You got mud all over you and you're sweating. But when you get to that piece of gold or mineral or crystal and you find what you're looking for, it's worth the work. And so the Intuitive Prospector was created to help people prospect for their own spiritual goal. And it's different for everybody. Everybody that I see and everybody I work with the last 4 years as a professional from all over the world, everybody has something different. But my job is to at least help them prospect and put in the work. Free will, choice, personal responsibility go a long way in doing this. Not what Mark says, not what the psychic says, but putting that back on them to search for themselves and go within. And like we were talking before we started recording, a big fan of mine is Charlie Chaplin, and he talked about that we think too much and we feel too little. And there's a lot of truth to that. So I help people to be mindful, to feel, to go within, because the only way out is in or through, and it starts right here at the heart. So that's a little bit, that's just a quick story on my background of where it all started to where I'm at now. I love doing the work for Spirit. I love helping people. I love being in service to others, being in service to our planet, to our community. What I say is our soul tribe of like-minded individuals, all coming together to make changes for the better and in a positive mindset.
Gosh, so many nuggets of gold wisdom in there. Thank you so much.
I like that you use nuggets for prospecting.
Yeah.
Gold nuggets. I love it.
I meant it.
I love it.
It's deliberate. We're attuned. We're in tune. That's
exactly.
Why. Yeah. There's so much in what you just said that I want to dive in a little deeper because particularly with you've managed to create a brand. You really are an authority in what you do. You're well known, you're well respected because of the truth of what you do. And I know a lot of people that I connect with in my community and the clients that I work with sometimes have a tug of war of they know what their message is. They don't know how to refine it, but they don't also struggle stepping into it because it feels so big. Or will people really get it? Will they understand? Will people judge me? Is it too soon? And I'm always a huge encourager of, like, if that's your truth, go for it. The right people will come. The more you step into that, the more you will shine your light and the more people can find you. So what would you say to those people through your own experience? And what did you say? The shakening is the awakening. Was that is what you said? I love that.
Yeah.
Some people, and with this interview series, it has some people that have had some huge shakenings, and some people haven't, and that's fine. I do believe that we look at the adversity in our life, and there's so much good around that brings us forward to make that difference. And you're a very amazing example of that. So what would you say to people that have had a shakening or have had some sort of shift, and they're getting more and more clearer on what it is that they're meant to do, the difference that they want to make, the voice that they want to be, but they just don't know how to make that step into doing that and bringing that out in a bigger way?
Sure. So I like to say, first, listen to the whispers of your heart, or feel the slap of reality in life, and that can be a very difficult journey. This journey to where I'm at today did not come without sacrifice, without the loss of friends, family, people that that are going to step forward with their own opinions, their own judgments. But you're correct in the fact that for every person that would step away because I was doing a psychic work, or I was a medium, or I'm doing the work of some religious people would say that I'm doing the work of the devil, and it's not that it is. Again, you come back to the work of the soul, working of the soul and the energy. But for every person that stepped away with their judgment or just misunderstanding of the work I was doing, two more of like-minded people would come in, and my community, my soul tribe, would get bigger. But what happened through this journey was I did start to live my truth. I did start to step into my power. I actually, wanted to be inspired with life, but I wanted to go out and inspire others. And for those that are watching this interview series, I would say life is short, live it, ask lots of questions, and don't get caught up in the mindset. It's really none of our business what other people think of us. When you are living your truth and you're living your journey, your path, it's your life. The greatest gift that we're given as humans is time. It's a commodity that some people waste, and I'm here to tell you that life is short, and I've seen that from my own experience and the loss of many family members. That I'm not going to waste any more time on what people think about me, or the opinions they have, or what they say. And we're in a society nowadays too, where everybody is either offended or everybody has an opinion about something. And so I would say to step into your true power, which I call living authentically, living presently, is going within and trusting what you're feeling, using that, developing your intuition and trusting. One of the pillars of spiritual development, when I first started, my mentors would beat into my head, trust how you feel. Trust is a big part of that. Not what some professional says, not what some pundit says. In fact, I don't know if they've ever made a statue of a skeptic or a pundit, if I think about it now. But trusting what you believe, because the God spark that's within the heart, what makes our heart go. We don't know we know how the heart works. We know the anatomy of the heart. So I'm bringing a little bit of my sports medicine into this. But we don't know the energy that actually fires within that heart, that makes the heart beat, that moves blood throughout your system and makes you who you are. Go within there, that God spark, and ask, what's my purpose? What's my passion? I always tell people, feel your pulse. If you have a pulse, you're alive. You're here for a reason. Now start prospecting and exploring and discovering, but not just through the mind, but also through the heart, the body, and the spirit. It's all about, developing and learning and, trusting and believing. A lot of people want to see it before they believe it. I actually teach just the opposite. Believe it, see it, achieve it. And, trust is a big part of the work that I do. But again, from the mind, the heart, the body, and the spiritual world that's all around us. We have so much energy. You and I are connecting right now via energy. And I always go back to Nikola Tesla, who talked about, if you want to unlock the secrets of the universe, think in energy, frequency, and vibration. And your heart is that vibration. It's that spark. It's that love. It's that frequency. And so, trust that. trust the whispers of your heart or feel the slap of reality. Because I'll tell you, Tiffany, a lot of the work that I do, when people call me to work with me, it's because they knew their intuition. They knew they should have followed this path 5 years ago, but they didn't trust it, didn't listen to it. And then they end up in a divorce or in a job that they just hate. And they wish they would have gone back and listened to that intuition, would have saved themselves time. And again, coming back to that, time is our greatest commodity that we're given, but also free will, choice, and personal responsibility to make that choice. So trust and ask questions, because life is short. Live presently, because there is no guarantees for tomorrow. I've learned that going back. I spent 8 years in the U.S. Coast Guard. So I like to say that I served my country for 8 years, and then I was a professional firefighter, EMT, before I got injured. So I like to say that I served my community, my local community. Now I serve the world of spirit. And so I've seen a lot of, professionally and personally, a lot of people pass into the spirit world, from sickness to car accidents to, accidents. And so I've seen life firsthand, and it's short. So live it, ask lots of questions, and go within.
Thank you so much. Again, so many golden nuggets in there. And there was I love it because I further develop and continue to bring this series together. I'm seeing you talking about frequency. I'm seeing you talk about passion. I'm hearing you talk about, going within. And there's so many dots that are being connected between all the experts. It's really beautiful, just really connecting with who you are, owning that, being curious, developing it, keep moving forward, all those sorts of things. So I want to talk, because I know we were speaking about this before when we were connecting. How do you really get to that place of trusting your intuition? How do you find that? I want to talk to, and I think I know what you're going to say, but I want you to share it with the audience.
You bet. Well, there's that old adage, less is more. I always teach that we don't take the time to disconnect, so we have the time to reconnect. And if you think about the words listen and silent, they're actually the same letters, just spelled differently. So really, it's no infomercial. It's all about the energy of breath, the importance of breath that you take in. It's the importance of just sitting still and getting silent and stopping the distractions that are all around you. With the media, with the technology, with the different apps, with the games, the mind is constantly going, and the mind will not shut off until we actually transfer back into the spiritual energy and higher consciousness. But it's going within. It's taking the time to stop, get silent, listen. We were talking before, the interview, that most of the meditation masters do their early morning meditations. We were talking about Wayne Dyer. And he used to get up at 3:00 in the morning and do his meditations. I get up at 4:30 every morning to do my meditations because it's silent. It's the spiritual veil is very, very thin. Harvard went to Tibet to do a study on the monks, the Tibetan monks. And how they did their meditations and how they would get up early in the morning and what that does to the brain. It reprograms, it rewires the brain. It helps with, a lot of what we do is either from learned behavior or our belief system. And meditation rewires. It actually grows new pathways. It gets you thinking for a much bigger picture. It's almost the analogy of the caterpillar going through the cocoon phase and becoming the butterfly. The perception of the caterpillar is much different than the perception of the butterfly. One of the other things I talk about, if you think of this world right now, there's a lot of different energy. We're in a year of a 1 from numerology standpoint. So we're rebuilding new foundations, new things. With that comes change, it comes anxiety, it comes discomfort, comes opinions and judgments. But there's a lot of craziness going on in the world down here. But if we were to go up to the International Space Station and look down at our planet, we would see that it's a very beautiful, peaceful, quiet planet. And then the closer we get down to the Earth, the more chaotic and the more distractions. So it's kind of the same thing with meditation is, going within, because you got a bunch of what I like to say, drunken monkey minds, the ego monkey minds running around in our head. And it's how you're not going to quiet them, but how do you become mindful of their behavior? Because you don't need to believe everything that your mind tells you. And so becoming a master of your mindset, mindfulness, quietness, silence, going within. And again, I preach that all the time. The only way out is in or through, and it all comes back to here. because this is what connects us from the physical to the spiritual or the unknown. You can even think about it this way. We always see the effects of the wind, but do you actually see the wind itself? So it's taking that time to be like, oh, I see the wind moving. Like I look out the studio here in Seattle and I see the tree swaying and we're about to get some snow, but I don't actually see what's actually moving that tree. I know that it's wind, but I don't see it with the physical eye. So in terms of what we actually see with the human eye and what we actually hear with the human ear on a scale of things, we're actually pretty deaf and we're actually pretty blind to what is out there. And if we just take the time to get silent and listen, through the power of meditation, there's a lot of things that can open up for you on your spiritual journey, your spiritual path. Prayer is talking out to whatever your belief system is. Meditation is listening back. And most people, that's where the disconnect is. They throw their thoughts out and they pray, or they talk to something bigger than themselves, but they don't take the time to stop, listen back for, that reverberation, that energy that will come back to you, because it's energy, frequency, and vibration. So,
yeah.
And breath is just very important. People don't breathe. So things that I offer, are free. Water, breath, meditations. I mean, everybody can do it anytime, anywhere. It's just most people aren't taking the time to disconnect, so they have that time to reconnect.
Yeah. So it's really the connection to ourselves, connection to source, connection to spirit. That silence through the connection enables you to really get the answers that you're seeking, to get the guidance that you're seeking, to just be still. Yeah, totally agree with that. I find that I'm sure you get the same. If I haven't meditated, if I go a day or two without meditating, I feel way off kilter. Things just don't feel aligned. I don't feel connected. So
if I go more than a day, 2 days at most, I know I can actually feel that my anxiety goes up. I'm more judgmental. I'm more opinionated. I'm more connected to the world. So again, it's taking that time to disconnect, to reconnect. But I'm also a big fan that, it's what I call a spiritual workout room. It's literally doing it on a daily basis. Because if you're living presently and you're living authentically, you need to take that time to get in and practice, because it's use or lose it. If you're not using it with anything, if you think of like a language, if you don't practice the language, you can't expect to show up in Italy and speak Italian if you're not practicing the Italian. But I'm a big believer in once growth stops, decay begins. So the journey, the spiritual path is all about learning. It's about growth. It's about transformation, moving forward, not worrying about so much the future, not caring about the past because you can't change that. But a lot of people spend their energy and their mindset either in the future or the past. And one of my favorite quotes from Abraham Lincoln is, one of the best things about our future is it comes one day at a time. So I try to teach on living presently, living authentically, being mindful to your thoughts, and not, if you think about it, we're the only species that pays to live here. We're the only species that creates our own fear and drama and worry. And, there's a lot to be said about it, because we are a conscious species. We are wanting to ask the bigger questions and self-awareness. I think, therefore I am. And that's just the power of the mind. So it's how do you tailor it to help you on your spiritual journey, your spiritual pathway, to meet the right person, to have the right job, to buy the right house. And that's really a lot of the work that I do. And I love it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, everything you've said about authenticity is something that keeps coming up through this series as well, is like you become, when you're really sharing your truth, and that's what you're doing here as we have this conversation, and how you've shared your truth more and more vigilantly. And you talked about, sometimes people had to move away or fall away and make the space, I believe, for more people to come in, for you to really hold that space for them and connect with them as well. So the authenticity thing is something that I love speaking about, because as you develop your message and you grow your brand and you become that authority, it really is about just showing up and being authentic. But for you and your journey, how has authenticity evolved for you? And do you attribute that to your success?
I do. Because, one, I never thought I'd be here doing an interview with you, or be doing a radio show, or writing for a magazine. I think for me, it was, again, life is learning it from experiences. And I used to be, if I was serving in the military or if I was serving my community, I've always had a heart to serve others and to help others, but at the expense of almost myself. And through, personal injury, through, depression, through just asking questions, I started to realize that if you try to satisfy the world, you please nobody. And so living authentic for me was about creating my brand, the Intuitive Prospector, moving forward regardless of what friends or family were saying or, talking about, and just knowing that the cause is to be in service to our planet, be in service to others, to live a healthy lifestyle that's a balance of mind, body, and spirit. I was very big into being successful in the corporate world for a certain amount of years, and there was a lot of health issues that came up. So I'm trying to make all this money to live this lifestyle of things that I can't technically take with me anyway. It's you have, the more things you have, the more they tend to own you. So living authentic was getting to a place where less is more, enjoying the journey on a daily basis, being kind, caring, and compassionate. That's actually how I close every single radio show, regardless of people's opinions, because trust me, everybody's going to have an opinion about something.
Yeah.
A great example is I do a live Facebook feed through the magazine that I'm a part of every Monday morning called Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. And it's just a half-hour webinar that's free that we talk about things that are going to inspire you for the week. And somebody had, somebody started trolling and putting angry faces on the feed. And I was like, well, they're just having a bad time. Let's send them love and light and, see if we can help change their energy. And then somebody had typed, because of the shirt that I was wearing, that it was offensive to them. And so, we're in a very opinionated, judgmental world. And if you listen to all of the opinions of others and you worry about that and you're like, well, maybe I'm not going to do that, then you're not living authentic. That authenticity is going within, listening to the whispers of your heart and following through on that and taking action and personal responsibility and not worrying about what others are going to say. And so for me, that's what living authentic is about. The Intuitive Prospector. Like I said, when I first started, I did not want to do this. This was not for me. Because I was worried about what my family would say. I'm a recovering Catholic, so there was that whole religious dogma of, oh my gosh, am I going to burn in the fires of hell because I'm doing this? So there was, the religious aspects, there was the self-belief aspects, and there was the social aspects of taking all that input to where I wasn't living my own life. I wasn't living authentic. And once you step into your true power and you find your calling, you find that pulse, that one, you have a pulse, two, you find that passion that you want to do and the purpose to do it, you step into that power. That's living authentic.
Yeah, the passion, believing in yourself, connecting with yourself, and then just moving forward. And the growth, right? The growth that comes with that. And just, yeah, I love that. I love everything that you're saying.
Growth is huge.
Yeah, right?
I like to also, I'm a big teacher. I love to teach. And I also teach people that life is not, you don't lose at life. You either learn or you win. And so changing that mindset too, that, oh, I didn't get this, so I'm a failure. No, there's a lesson. It's like relationships. People are lessons or blessings. So sometimes they're both. They can be a lesson and a blessing. And so I try to teach that mindfulness and that positive awareness that, life is to learn. It's not to fail at. It's to either learn it or win at it. I don't fail in anything I do. I either learn from it or I win from it.
Yeah, I love that. The acronym, actually, this acronym was taught to me by a young 16-year-old girl. I was part of a mentorship program for a nonprofit called Step Up Foundation. Oh, yeah. And a fail, first attempt in learning. I love that.
First attempt in learning. Oh, yeah, that's good. I like the acronyms.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Because it kind of goes, there's two acronyms. I like that. I'm going to use that because the other two that I like to go by is FEAR, FEAR, false evidence appearing real, because we recreate our own fear, which fear is not a real thing. There is danger. There's danger in the world. If there's a bear and if I'm up on a hike and there's a bear that's going to start chasing me because I look like food, that's a real danger. But if I'm hiking and I'm creating, well, what if this bear comes out of the woods and attacks me? I've just created my own fear, which is false evidence appearing real. And then the big one today, especially for the younger generation, is FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
I'm missing out on something, even if it doesn't serve my higher good, even if it doesn't serve my spiritual path, social media, getting on somebody's opinion, getting on a tweet, getting on, what have you. It's FOMO. It's the fear of missing out on something. It's like, does that really serve your higher purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be a huge sufferer of FOMO. I can say now that not so much. So I've been there, I've done that. I think we could talk about acronyms all day. It's so fun.
Well, and it's that living authentic. When you get into FOMO and that fear of missing out, then you're not really living an authentic life.
Yeah.
You're not following your own true spiritual path because you're caught up on wanting to be something of the masses.
You're not, and you're not connected. You're not connected to self. You're not really listening to what it is that's best serving you as
exactly.
Well. Yeah. Awesome. So Marc, you've got a free gift that you can share. Can you tell us about that?
A free gift. Remind me what my free gift is.
Oh no,
Sorry.
did we not cover this?
No.
Funny. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fault. I should have followed up with you.
Wait, I'm psychic, so let me kind of tune in.
Is there anything that you can offer that they can stay connected with you?
You bet. If they go to marclainhart.com or email me and they want to book a 15-minute spiritual consultation with me, I would definitely open that up, help them to look at a spiritual session based on it could be psychic sciences, it could be mediumship, it could be, I work with numerology, so just your number life path of what you're wanting to do. Again, it's not always about the money. It's about my time. And I think, I've had many conversations about being in service to others. And unfortunately, we're a society where we chop down trees and turn it into paper, and that's how we exchange our services. But if I can help somebody out that's watching this series, I'd be happy to sit down with them and give them a spiritual consultation. I say 15 minutes because, again, my time is precious to me, but we end up tend to run over anyway. Just like the session I just got done with, it was supposed to be a half hour, ended up being an hour, but I don't mind because it's helping other people out. So is that what you were referring to? Is that what you were?
Yeah, that's hugely generous. That's fine. So I'll get that link from you and I'll share that out to the community as well. And then we'll get this to pop up on the video as well. And if there's anything else that we can come up with, we can share that with them as well when I send out the email to promote this.
Yeah, and if there's somebody out there in the soul tribe, in the spiritual community, I do have a radio show called Inspired Living Radio as well, and it's worldwide. It's accessible from any device. So if you've got a story that you'd like to share, or you got a book that you're writing, we're an inspired community of inspired listeners, and we've had some wonderful guests on, and we've covered every aspect from psychic, mediumship, doctors, professional athletes, musicians, actors. So, I would just ask them to, visit my website at marclainhart.com. You can always just do an internet search, do some prospecting, just type in the Intuitive Prospector. I'll pop up, and I would love to help you with your own spiritual goal, whether it's through radio, whether it's through a session, or whether it's just an email, or just to say hi. Just, we're so disconnected. When I ride the bus, I just kind of observe and I see how many people are looking at their phones and how disconnected we really are. So if I can help somebody get, reconnected and on a path of being inspired and living their life again, what I call soul adventures, because that's what it's all about. It's about your own personal soul adventure.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marc. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom and your knowledge and your heart. And I look forward to continuing our relationship together as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And with anything, I just would put it out there. Just be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Life is short. Live it.